is 6:30 p.m. and you're welcome to news coming to you live from our studios here at the John Evans at Mills High Street. Remember, you can join us on Facebook and YouTube at Adoatv Ghana. My name is Cassandra Kuju.
And my name is Jonathan Amma. Remember, the news is proudly sponsored by Sonotech Medical and Diagnostic Center, Verna Mineral Water, Blue City Ties and Accessories, and Asatech Roofing Sheet and Cookware. This is what we give to you trending issues that made headlines throughout the week in 30 minutes.
Coming up, controversial purchase of presidential jet. According to an economist, it's a misplaced priority.
And the Ghana National Association of Teachers chairman for Jowli Local calls on government for learning materials.
And law school entrance exam saga, SRC pleads with management to admit 499 candidates. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back from the break. Now let's take some details. The Justice Kumsin Committee's report on the Ejura disturbances has been met with mixed reactions, with many criticizing the findings and recommendations in the report since it was released. Meanwhile, a retired appeals court judge and the chair of the June 3rd Twin Disaster Committee and Commission of Inquiry for Ghana at 50 celebration, Justice Isaac Dosey, has described the recommendations of the Ejura Committee as fair but had some concerns over two, which suggests that the District Chief Police Commander at Ejura, DSP Philip Kojo Hammond, should be transferred for what the report describes as his incompetence in handling the disturbances. Isaac also has more in the following report.
I don't think they have veered seriously from the direction they are supposed to go, because first of all they have to find out how Kaka died, and then of course as to whether the reaction of the public is appropriate or justifiable or acceptable, and as to whether the reaction of other officials is also acceptable or not. This is doing a self-examination to find out whether our reaction to mob action and the rest of it is improving or not improving. So I think that this time round something has been done, except that government has not come out with any statements on this. They have just thrown the report out there, and maybe they want to test the waters to find out how the public reacts before they come out with their statement. The recommendations are fair. They are really fair. Except that I don't agree that transfer is a way of solving any problem. Not only in this particular instance, but in any other instance. If anybody misbehaves in his job and is found so to have misbehaved, the issue is to have him retrained or reorientated so that he can perform better. Transferring him raw like that is just transferring him with all his faults. There's nowhere in this country where a riot situation may not occur again. So if you take him anywhere else and a rioting situation happens again, he might behave the same way that he behaved in this particular instance, which is not good enough. I think the reaction of the public is very healthy, and it must continue. People will learn their lessons from it. If we keep quiet about it, we will not learn any lessons from it. As we are discussing and analyzing, then those who need to learn will learn, and those who will not learn will suffer for the consequences of their failure to learn from the mistakes of others. So it is good that we do that. That is an essential part of democracy. But the insults and the arrests should also be minimized because they don't solve the problem. They make the issues worse. If somebody speaks his mind, there's no need attacking him. Attack the idea, not attack the individual. But I think that as much as possible, we should stop involving the military in crowd control because that is not their training. And if any military officer is brought in and he behaves like he should behave, I don't think that we have any justifiable ground to blame them for doing what they have done. What is going on, in my humble opinion, is that the police are gradually losing the respect of the public, and they must set up and get the respect of the public.
And also to some other development, it has sparked some controversies on the purchase of presidential jet here in the nation. And speaking to an international economist, Julius Kwekukata, he described the decision as a misplaced priority. According to him, there are many issues that need urgent attention rather than the purchase of a presidential jet.
By my understanding and the way the country is going, if it is true that the current government is going to purchase such a plane at this time, it's a misplaced priority. Why? The reason is basic. We have huge unemployment. Salary difference disparity is high. You understand, 4% of increment in public sector workers. And government is going to take that huge sum of money to go and buy presidential jets. Meanwhile, just a few days ago, we happened to have presidents from other countries having the opportunity to use our own presidential flights that we have. They have hired it and use it. What is preventing us from not managing it? The security of that flight. When other presidents use it, it is okay. But why Ghana, we are not, the current government doesn't want to use it. Now, if you look at the value, the assumed value of the jets, we are talking about $111 million plus dollars, which will be pumped into that, which is equivalent to 800 million Ghana cedis. My brother, if government will spend that money, I'm of the view that if you take 216 districts in Ghana and you divide that number by the 800 million, you are hitting 4 factories per district. Actual figure is 3.7 because we don't have 3.7. You can't build 3.7 factory. I assume the round figure for four factories per district. When that is established through public-private partnership, then we can see those districts expanding. And where there are factories, education will continue to grow there. Then other sectors will develop, agriculture will develop. Then other sectors linked with the industry will get a production system in place. Now, satisfying these industries at all these levels will mean that we will reduce unemployment by 70%. And when that happens, income of the citizenry will increase. Their wealth will increase, savings will increase. And they can be in better position to take good care of their children to go to school. And those are the fundamental things, and even provide full shelter and clothing for themselves and their families. We should rethink about purchasing the presidential jets.
Now, don't forget to join us on Facebook and YouTube at Adoatv Ghana. Let's take some more stories. Now, still on the presidential jet saga, one topic that has had a yes response from the minority in Parliament, NDC, and majority of the public is the issue of procurement of a bigger presidential jet. As according Director of Communications at the Office of the President, Mr. Eugene Ahen, has become a necessary evil. There's more in the following report.
So because I penny or money in a shanensa, it's a year, and so also, but they imagine training. Why? Oh, Yameba Shayan, Yameba Shaw, no, dear bass, I see so no one be put to science. Why? And see me there, may my granny and car, Mamma and top. no because so to kwan ya e so kono bantem sai me kra nka meto why no nya
The constant dilemma of whether or not Ghana should procure a bigger private jet to accommodate the president and his entourage while traveling has become a roller coaster conversation for months. Recently, Minister for Defense, Mr. Dominic Nitiwu, has been handling the process in relation to buying a bigger and new presidential jet. The minister has made it clear that government has decided to buy a bigger jet to save costs. Meanwhile, Director of Communications at the Presidency, Mr. Eugene, also prior to that, had given a hint at a press briefing at the Jubilee House on Monday, September 27, 2021, that the move to get a bigger fit-for-purpose aircraft was part of cost-saving measures on the travels of the President and other state key functionaries.
In 2008, it had procured 2 jets, the current Falcon, and then a bigger Embraer, if I'm not mistaken. And for one reason or another, the bigger jet was cancelled, and we were left with this particular one here. I don't know what I mean. Obviously, it would have made much more economic sense to keep the bigger one, because obviously when that happens, when you're traveling with your delegation, and as you know, you don't have to send media people ahead of time. All of you can just go at a go, saves cost and everything. But well, it has happened, and you collect that the Minister for Defense has made it clear that government has decided to buy a bigger jet to save us from all these troubles. I wouldn't want to go into details. I'm sure when the Minister for Defense has the opportunity to give further information as to what government is doing with respect to that, I'm sure he'll do that. But I know for a fact that, yes, as he has rightly indicated, government is already in the process of acquiring a bigger jet.
However, Communications Officer for the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Sami Jenfi, on Saturday, 2nd October 2021, reacted to the MPP government's decision to buy a new presidential jet, saying the Akufo-Addo-led government's decision to acquire a presidential jet at this time is a case of misplaced priority. Mr. Jenfi stressed that government being aware of the woes of citizens who are managing to cope in a post-COVID-19 Ghana and so pursuing a quest to buy a presidential jet is unacceptable. Again, Deputy National Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Chief Nikes Mbenu, on Tuesday, 3rd October, has also said that President Akufo-Addo and his government's decision to purchase a new presidential jet is curious, most especially when the country is trying to navigate the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, and he even entertaining the idea to buy a new presidential jet is inconsistent. Speaking to Adoatv on this topic, some Ghanaians found the decision rather disturbing, and they claim the hardship in the country is unbearable for President Akufo-Addo and his government to even conceive the idea of purchasing a new, bigger presidential jet.
Because already you will be that na say you will be na say o san the ska fufura san ko to bioma then na say o ko say o boy double. Because already there's rumor say who ko high private jet dware wo ni nema aye wo plane bi wo hono. I mean o san ko to bio na say e cabo so buy say we Ghana foka and I said yeah no musu bi say ye nu ye ho papa seriously.
Oh, me de me hu ni say on to because I want to wa man ni mududu. Ana moreover no so me hu ni say sika bebre no de beto ana me boa. So there are many projects for why was all the enu no hu hia pa what you say. So jet ni de fa so bi eni so.
Just no tonso so say bia ye frey obebi na se bia but me akwa ba tem sia.
Oh no be enjoy ana me boa. So come for the whole country ndi na chinko. Enjoy no gwa na ko enjoy wo jet ni. What you say. So no ne me hu ni say no da no ya dia like a bit favor no ko and favor Ghana for what I say so media me who ni say a good idea cry one bit
emrantie ne maba wo nya ndwuma ye omanya yenya independence say 64 years ni na enkolade wo mo ye futo fo na twro school them. So on my yetimu mo na mo ka se covid na no ma bo kwa na ekoso na mo nwe no ho e ma no ma prices na ma fo na manyi sika na mo simu de kokoto player ya play ni bi wo ho so ese o pa chire se ye dwe ho aye nti ase da se na politicians omo ba omo anu de omo be ka chire o ba nya no na yehu da se enka menyi ni se gidie nya wo ni mu no enya no no yehu omo anu ma oni mu a mo ye nka chire ni se me ka chire so wo behwe bia ka chire se omo anu mu aye den enwoma omo ba power 2016 omo ka chire anoma omo ka chire na anu ni yehu.
Away from the controversy surrounding the purchase of a new presidential jet in the country, let's go to education. The Ghana National Association of Teachers of the Accra Metro West District, Jolu Local, held its Teachers' Day celebration at Bethany Methodist Church, Jolu, a suburb of Accra. This year's celebration differs as teachers were briefed extensively on the code of conduct of the Ghana Education Service. The following report has more.
October 5th has been set aside to celebrate, congratulate, and encourage teachers around the globe for the good work they do by impacting knowledge into young ones. The anniversary dates back to 1966, where UNESCO made several recommendations on the status of teachers, which includes teachers from pre-primary to the SHS, both government and private sectors. Also during the anniversary, the initial duration of training of teachers, how they are being trained, their recruitment, supervision, assessment, responsibilities, rights, among others were all touched on. However, this year's celebration was focused on the support teachers need to fully contribute to the recovery process after COVID-19. Indoor fun activities was equally inculcated to brighten the smile of teachers who were able to be a part of this year's Teachers' Day celebration. NAT's chairman for Jolu Local, Mr. Ransford Nanado Asari, disclosed the problems teachers encountered during the lockdown and called on government to provide them with teaching and learning logistics.
We recommend that government should make teaching and learning resources available to enhance effective teaching and learning in the various classrooms. Then union is also charging the directorate, and I'm happy HR is here to work hand in hand with headquarters and controller to place teachers who were recently promoted to their respective ranks. I hope this message will be carried to director.
Human Resource Manager for Ayawaso West Wagon, Madam Doris Owusu, also delivered her speech on the GES Code of Conduct and advised teachers on how to cope with all the students.
Let's be careful. And let's remember that one day we will also be in that same seat. But apart from that, our Code of Conduct says we should go to school at the right time and leave at the right time. I will summarize most of them. And leave at the right time. And when we go, remember we went to school to teach. So you went at the right time. These days we don't go for assembly, but assembly time, you'll be in your classroom. Break time, you'll be in your classroom. You don't care. Whatever happens, you don't care. Extra curriculum, you don't care. You won't do it. And some teachers are bold enough to tell their head, I won't do it. But
some insurance guests who were present at the celebration also gave teachers guidelines on insurance and its beneficials.
I learned some of you are already on. In fact, most of you are already on. And it has become a necessity. And so we should always come over and over and over to encourage those who are yet to sign on. Every year, your contribution goes up by 10%. So is the claim, there is a corresponding increase in your benefits too.
Before 2008, SNIT was the only company managing our pensions. So our contributions were going to SNIT, so that when you go on retirement, SNIT will give you monthly salaries and also give you a lump sum. With the tier 2, we are just limited to 5% of our basic salaries that we contribute into the tier 2, just 5% of our basic salary that goes into the tier 2. But with this tier 3, because it's a voluntary scheme, there are fluctuations. You can choose to do any percentage that you want. The law is actually saying that you have a maximum of 16.5% of your basic salary to contribute into the tier 3. So it means that you can decide that, okay, I'll do just 5%, or I can contribute 7%, or I can contribute 10%, or I can do 12%, or I'll take full advantage of the maximum, which is the 16.5%.
Now, away from that, the Ghana Representative Council of the Ghana School of Law in a presser at the Ghana School of Law on the 7th October 2021 has pleaded with the Ghana Legal Council and other legal administrative officers to consider the admissions of the 499 incoming students. Speaking at the presser was the SRC President, Mr. Wanda Victor Kuto, who spoke to the media, explicitly explained the role of the SRC with regards to the issue at hand. Nanaya of Adoatv has more in the following report.
I'm not going to bother you by reading it. I won't bother you, but I just want to know that you have the notice. This is the said notice that I'm referring to. This notice sought to bring a threshold that in ought to have gotten 50% in part 1 or part A, section A. Thank you. You need to get 50% in section A and 50% in section B. It is the cumulative, it is the both passes. You need the passes in both sessions before you will have been deemed to have passed. That is what the notice, I'm talking about what the notice said. Now, it is the effect of that notice that we are all gathered here today. It is because of the effect of that notice that we are all gathered here today. As SRC President, when I got a copy of the ROS course, I forwarded it to my team, and the SRC have since done an auditing, and we have finished our auditing of the ROS course, which we have here, the ROS course of the 2,824 candidates who sat for the exams. We have the ROS course here, and we have audited. And having done the auditing, we have noticed that 499 candidates had the 50% and above. Some had 60 and all of that, but 50% and above. We have noticed that these 499 per the notice have been deemed to have failed. However, using the past precedents, the 50% and above past precedents, we as SRC, I'll come to the position of the SRC soon, we as SRC, we have noticed that these 409 students ought not to have been deemed that they have failed. The General Legal Council, as indicated earlier, is an administrative body. We have judges of high repute, judges of good standing, judges who decide on very good cases in this country on the General Legal Council. However, at the General Legal Council, they do not perform judicial power. The General Legal Council exercises administrative function. They perform administrative function. So just as the Chief Justice has judicial powers and also have administrative function. I mean, law students know this. When we talk about administrative function, the Chief Justice in empowering judges is performing his administrative function. Now, when he sits on the case, he's performing his judicial function. So the General Legal Council, although we have judges as part of the General Legal Council, they do not sit with judicial powers. They sit as administrative body to exercise discretionary powers. And because they are administrative bodies, they are amenable and subject to judicial review. They are also subject to administrative review. These are facts. Now, the principle of legitimate expectation has to do with the past conduct and consistent practice and representation of a public body to other stakeholders. Now, in the case of the General Legal Council, what has been the past conduct? What has been the consistent practice? The past conduct and the consistent practice is that, look, when we get 50%, you have passed. That has been the consistent practice. And that has been the conduct and the representation that the General Legal Council has made to all stakeholders and to the general public. Which is why in 2019, only 128 candidates were admitted to the Ghana School of Law, because they were the only people who had a 50% and above. So all those who had 49.5 and below were deemed to have failed. That has been the consistent practice. In 2020, 1,045 students or applicants were eligible for admission to the Ghana School of Law because of, again, the consistent practice of the 50% and above. It is against this background, coming to give you the SRC position, that we respectfully call on the General Legal Council to reconsider its decision, which we deem as unfair, and to consider the 499 students or candidates as eligible for admission into the Ghana School of Law. The SRC, I must say, we are really cooperating with management, and management are also cooperating with us. We have no reason to doubt them that they will admit the 499 candidates.
We'll stay closely on the legal aspect of the Ghana School of Law and the 499 people who were not admitted, to give you more as development unfolds to that effect. Now, away from that, a delegation from Adoa Media Consult here at Adoatv, led by the director, Mr. Reginald Ansa Ejay, has met the CEO, Mr. Madoda Mzwaki, and management team of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, South Africa's biggest broadcasting hub, on future partnership, mentorship, and content syndication. After cordial and formal conversations, a memorandum of understanding is expected to be met and issued between both media firms to kickstart a great amalgamation. On that very note, this is how we end the evening news right from our studios at the John Evans Fifiate Mills High Street in Accra. Remember, the news was proudly sponsored by Blue City Ties and Accessories, Asatek Roofing Sheet and Cookware, Sonotech Medical and Diagnostic Center, and Verna Natural Mineral Water. My name is Jonathan Ama.
And my name remains Cassandra Kujo. Remember to log on to our website, www.adoanewsonline.com, for more news.